Organizing life is a really important part of life design, but there's some key mechanisms that belong to organizing life, and they all work together. Like, you really can't have one without the other. I'm going to briefly go over the practical and sort of the life design elements to this system because it is about productivity and life design, but it's also including the physical. And I really think that this is going to be a very practical look at like why I've sort of changed my system and what I've added to manifest in the physical as well, so that it's not just about a pretty planner app or a well-designed planner page of any kind, planner list of any kind, or planner um, timeline of any kind. It's more like this is like really part of life and very, very practical. So I am going to get into life design on how this is helping me in scripting life and the things that I've done over the years. I haven't quite wanted to quit. I haven't quite wanted to put away. And in fact, I've gotten out a lot of the older ways that I would operate. The first part of this is Apple Notes. I've always kept that around. I've always note-taked life. I've always even included it in part of my planner or calendar or Notion or whatever I had been doing at the time. And even within the structured framework, I've kind of kept it. Once in a while, I'd write down a prompt, paste it into structured AI. It was really cool to do that, and it's been really a good, huge notebook and part of life design. I could use it for scratch paper, anything that I need in design. I've used it in education and been able to try things out that are kind of integrated into our systems, especially when it comes to signatures, scanning, things like that. Grok, I have moved on to for scanning documents, analyzing meetings, going over how to figure out my mail, not only with the scanning, but even explaining my mail and the letters and the any kind of notices or statements or anything. It really is good at explaining things as well. So I've moved on to Grok, Grok, for a lot of productivity and really helping with a lot of the things that I would have hired an assistant for. Really and truly, I would have in the last few years. I was actually looking for an assistant to hire to help me with these things, to help me advocate. And I had been working with people a little bit in helping them with their various projects and things. And that's been great, but I can now use AI to streamline the process and not have to wait on anybody. So that's been really cool. Another thing within the notes that really connects up is reminders. And I had been using a system for years, ever since, being a parent and even being a wife before being a parent and even being a fiance, a girlfriend, all of that. And being a wife and a parent had been a huge upgrade in my relationship and my family that had happened. We kind of merged the two together. So even before that, we had a lot of time to play with what worked in a relationship and, just the hierarchy of life. And that's always included reminders for medical and care and other family members and things when we were learning to take care of family. And we realized that would be a part of our skill set in life. So reminders has always been a part of that. Even on Android with Google Keep, I was able to take a lot of the things I learned from Apple Reminders and integrate it into Google Keep. So even if you're on Android, a lot of this could still apply in its own way, even if it looks a little bit different. Any default apps on your phone are going to be underestimated. You're going to have a lot of things under the hood that you can do. And even if you have to scratch an itch of using third party for a while, for the most part, I always feel like the productivity and just overall life, really, because what is productivity? I think it's become a little too separate from everything else when it really needs to be merged. But even just your overall quality of life goes into really getting things done better when you just minimize everything that you're doing. And so, but yet have the analytical capabilities, have the AI working in the background. Because even with Apple Notes, I can transcribe what I'm saying to you right now, put it in a recording, and use that transcription, play the parts that I want to play within the transcription in front of me while reading it at the same time, or just copy everything, use the recording itself to upload here to YouTube or whatever I want to do, right? And it just gives me a lot of access to that. And if I really needed the scanning feature, I'm glad it's there. It should be a part of every note taker by now. And I'm glad that there's math within the notes. If I want to do a lot of math, it's kind of like really convenient because I can track a lot more than just using the calculator. I can still use the calculator if it's quicker math, but like for like more budgeting or kind of a setup with brainstorming with math, it really makes sense to have it in notes along with tables and kind of like your own sort of spreadsheets and stuff like that within. So, and checklists and everything else in notes if you're really brainstorming. And you can connect those, the notes you've already taken over the years and the notes you're taking now, you can connect with your reminders. And same with Android with Google Keep, you can integrate your reminders within the same note. And with iOS, you can share your notes into your reminders as needed. So it's really, really a cool design. And the calendar is really good with all of this as well, because I can decide if Google Calendar or Apple Calendar works better for event planning. Quickly adding events kind of works better with Google Calendar, but then having everything sync up on my lock screen is really nice to have with the notification sounds playing from sounds that I purchased. It's really motivating to keep up with Apple Calendar with the actual Apple Calendar app. But then, and having both calendar apps work together to make my calendar better is kind of a cool custom thing. Reminders, you can also take the sounds that you've purchased, and you're not going to get a sound by task like maybe you got in structured, but to me it's almost, I haven't really felt like sounds have played a part of planning and scheduling quite as much in life. And I feel like when they do play a part, I want a sound that that I can purchase and go out and find, or that I've already purchased from like favorite artists or creators, because then it really motivates me even more, especially when you're paying for the sound, when you paid for that sound. Whereas structured, I kind of felt like they did jump on the sound per task, which was brilliant. And I think we've needed that. And that's been a huge thing. But I don't feel like they executed yet. And maybe they could. And maybe they will, hopefully. On purchasing sounds, creating your own sounds, or supporting your favorite artists or creators, things like that, which it could happen over time. I mean, these developing platforms cost them a lot more money too, and I understand that. But I would say I would purchase sounds in a heartbeat if I was using the app, and I would really, that would really be, if they monetized it well, as like a ringtone that you can buy within an in-app purchase from Structure. That would be a really cool thing. But even though the sound per task isn't working within reminders and calendar and all that, just the fact that you can purchase sounds from your favorite creators and artists is like really cool. Just like you go out and find wallpapers and that kind of thing. And if you had a huge iTunes library, you can even go into there. But it's really a cool thing. But it doesn't play a part, and I'll tell you in a minute how it doesn't play a part, but it really doesn't play as big of a part in my life as you would think with sounds. One of the benefits of reminders is the fact that it's not as rigid as structured. So you're not forced into one day, you're not boxed into a day unless you organize things into sections in a day. And so you're not even boxed into an inbox. You have all these different lists that organize huge areas within your life. And then when you get into the list, you can organize that list into sections. And so I have like a main planner list, and then I have sections for parts of my day that I would like to make sure that I'm on top of things. Like I have a morning section an afternoon section, an evening section. They're all titled with different emojis that give me a visual or kind of an imagination of what that part of the day might feel like. And within even the titled reminders or tasks of emojis of what that might be like, or change my mood into what I want to feel like, or what the task is actually happening. So I might have, like, because I want to get outside in the morning, that's very important to me to get outside. Plus I get outside anyway for different chores and different things that I need to do with the family. So I definitely have like the sunrise emoji and kind of a meditative emoji to kind of realize that getting outside is going to put me in a good state of mind. And that even though I might have just woken up or woke up a little while ago or whatever it is, I can kind of get outside, but it's not so rigid that I have to be out there at 6:05 in the morning. I can go out there if it's more convenient at 6:15 in the morning or whatever it is. I'm just giving you examples. Those aren't really the times that I go out there, but it's just more about what's working and working together with the family. I don't need my phone buzzing every second, bothering myself or the family, giving me more anxiety, giving me the wrong kind of dopamine. I think there's actually a lot to be said about dopamine, and we've gotten dopamine wrong, and I'll definitely do an episode on that, because dopamine can be a good motivator and it can be a good thing if used in the right way. And so that's how that works. So then we're moving on to the physical finally, because, being able to check in on things and having completed reminders that I can then go in and uncheck and recheck is so much faster for streamlining my organizing life and having these things into sections. I also have family section, work section within the same planner list, so that it's really organized into like what I might be doing throughout the week and the day. And then I can close those off, add tasks, and prioritize things in a quick way that has nothing to do with time, right? And nothing to do with alerts. And then if I want to schedule something, which I do schedule, I'm going to have that creative alert motivating me. So then, when it comes to the physical, there's some different things that I've learned to do in life that I want to go over that might actually help you. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, what disability or ability you have. These are things that are going to help you. And so one of those things is having a couple of ways of organizing things in front of your door in your home. So one of those things is definitely having at least one hook. You can get different hooks at the dollar store, peel them and kind of stick them on your wall. You don't have to have a hammer and nails to do this. Although you could, and we have, even just us by ourselves, we've kind of like decided, if the hammers worked and everything, but then we realized you can get a bunch more and do it much faster by sticking them to your wall. And then even a table in front of your door or some kind of bin in front of your door helps with things like clothes you might want to wear on the go, especially when you're in a hurry, or especially part of productivity that I think we miss is how to be productive when you are at the last minute, when you needed more time to wake up. How are you really showing up when you just needed to give yourself more time to breathe, and now you're at the last minute of your life rushing to get out that door? And so one of my favorite ways to do this is you have your keys in a certain place, and I recommend not hanging them up, not having them out where everybody can see them, grab them, anything like that. Having them put in a place, whether that's a bin, a drawer, whatever, at a table with things that you might grab, especially if you don't use a purse, like things like a wallet or things like that. And then having your table with, maybe if you throw your clothes up there, they're off the floor, they're safe. The only thing that you might have on the floor is shoes, which organizing your shoes is still really cool. Maybe get a separate bin for that. We're working on the shoes aspect. It's not too bad now. And having all of that set up in an organized way so that, like, and having, if you have a device, whether you're disabled, whether that's a cane or a chair or something that folds up or stands up properly in the corner, you can hang that up, or you can put that in the corner so you can easily grab it. I recommend just putting it in the corner, like by your door. Um, and so that's very important for organizing just on the go when you need to get out the door. I don't know why we've been taught so hard about keeping your clothes in your bedroom, all of your clothes, even when you get dressed, unless you're really like taking a lot of time to get ready and your bathroom's right there and you're showering. That's all great, but I think it's been a little bit too hard on that in life and society, whereas really having some clothes on the go can help with all of that, especially if you've taken too long to get ready back there in your bathroom or your bedroom and you need to just grab and go at that point. Because if you're closer to the door and you have things that you need, even if it's like somewhat near your door, maybe you have stuff you keep with you all the time in your living room, and then you have a table with your kind of by your door or whatever, and you're kind of using both or whatever, nothing wrong with that. It helps so much to then grab what you need. Grab that hair comb. It's right there in your living room as you're kind of sitting and getting ready. Maybe you're kind of like waiting on the family. You're sitting on your couch. You're grabbing that to put your hair up. Or if it is on the table with your clothes on the go, ready to go, that kind of a thing. And maybe you keep your clothes. What I used to do and what I can do today is keep your clothes in your purse. Fold them up really nice. Keep them in your purse. That can work with gym clothes, or that can work with on-the-go clothes, believe it or not. Keeping your clothes in your purse, taking your purse quickly, especially living with family at the time, and just, even if you have a fanny pack, if you don't do purses or whatever, doing that is really helpful. Or keeping your clothes hung up in the bathroom is even more helpful too if you're jumping out of the shower. Taking advantage of the towel racks or the hooks or the shelves or the counter space or whatever you've got in your bathroom set up. So you might not have all those things at once, but you might have some of those things that are really, really nice to have that helps you. So that's kind of it for like being kind of living your life. Everything else is kind of subjective at this point, but I just wanted to go over like how being productive is actually helpful in manifesting your life. And you don't always have to, it's not always about time blocking every detail of your life. Sometimes it's really about the little things that can help you be on the go. Keeping clothes in a purse with a body spray, a deodorant, a comb, can really, like, you would be surprised how much time you're saving on getting ready a lot of times. But like, a lot of us think that we're being disorganized by having to do that, or things like that, but actually it can really help. Or even just, especially when you're living with a lot of people. But if you have sort of more of a say in your home, you can definitely have things set up so that everything's by the door, on a nice table, on a nice hook, in a bin that is safe to put things in a drawer at your at the table by the door, like having a little coffee table in front of your door, a little, things like that. Having a coffee table by your couch with everything you need. I do that as well. And having all these things really helps. So really, really cool things to think about in life. I love that, in a lot of ways, like minimizing and just realizing the subtlety of like AI in the background with Apple system or Google system is actually a lot more practical than having this huge AI add-on that can be really cool. And in fact, can be really kind of like, it really gets you thinking about what you can do, but it's not quite as, it's more of an add-on, and it takes more time to put together and less in the background integrated into your life design. So that's kind of where I'm at. And It's more about manifestation and scripting your life in a certain way, prescribing what you need to do, but also writing that script of organization and learning to work within it, having things set up and ready to go when chaos arises rather than having, everything dependent on being on time with every detail, having things timed blocked and timed for every detail. That is not going to be adaptable when chaos comes up. It's not always going to be easy to just understand what's going on in your life, because that's really going to throw you way off when your time blocks don't go according to your plan, and it's going to make you feel like you failed when you really just need to focus on the present moment at that time, no matter how chaotic. It kind of helps you stay calm when you have different chaos plans and things like that, rather than trying to micromanage your time every second, micromanage everybody else's time every second. Definitely having lists and notes for other people within your close family, your team, it helps a lot. But knowing that you don't have to micromanage them, it's more to help them once in a while thing, or to understand what they need to do versus what you need to do, but not having an alert go off when they need to do something, when that's really up to them, how they want to manage their time. Especially when it comes to raising a family and showing them how to manage their time by letting them learn about decision making rather than enforcing something. So, especially, and then for yourself, what is realistic versus what looks pretty? Having a time blocked timeline in a calendar or to-do list looks very pretty. It looks like you're on top of things, but is it really helping you, and is it really benefiting your relationships and in your family? Is it something you care about when you're on your deathbed? Is it something that you're going to care about, or is it something you're going to regret spending too much time on worrying about, when really you wish you would have spent more time on your relationships and being there for your family? So just some things to really think about. Even if it's just with yourself, even if you've not really been into relationships, being on your deathbed, are you going to wish you would have spent more time on yourself and less time trying to manage your time? It's good to schedule things, though. I do have things scheduled that I want to prepare for, and I have things scheduled that I need to show up for. So it's not like all scheduling is bad throughout the week, throughout the month. But as far as daily life, I don't think it's really going to benefit, as far as I'm concerned, what needs to really be managed, which is clutter, chaos, things in the present moment that need to happen and that need to get done. We need to be more present with our loved ones, with our family, with ourselves, in keeping our state of mind calm. That's a lot more important to me than managing your time each and every day, especially if you work from home or you're not living your life based on anything. If you have a work schedule and you want to track it throughout getting ready for work, to your work day and work tasks, to coming home from work, that's completely understandable. I'm not talking to you specifically that that's bad. What I am saying, though, is that for the rest of your day, for the rest of your home life, for those of us who work on a freelance level, work can come up at any minute that you may not want to miss out on, or at any minute you could say, my health needs to be managed and I need to get healthier in order to work better and plan to work better. That's fine. And even a little bit of scheduling wouldn't hurt with that, or not. I feel like I get my best work done by not scheduling it and having it come up and being there to do the work, making sure my health is good, making sure my sleep is good and functioning first. And then I get my most optimal work done. And I'm not at the mercy of people working with me or not at that point, because my health is optimal so that I can get my best work done, and I'm not reliant on sort of like bringing people into that work. I'm not micromanaging that because I'm not so time-based and because It's more about, I'm making it more about, am I doing good work? Am I showing up? I'm offering it for people who want to work with me. I'm answering questions, but I'm not there for people who are not interested in working with me in this sort of a different way of working. I'm there to be upfront with that, or for people to be upfront with me on that from the beginning, that they may not, that they do all these things and that they have a life outside of work, or that they have community they're building that is a part of their work. And I'm not even trying to convince them, because they don't have to do it. They can do their own thing and still be just as legit. So that's how that goes. Really letting go of this whole micromanaging time has really helped me to get away from like expecting other people to meet my needs or meet my expectations, to be honest with you. Letting go of time management has really helped. So I want to just put this out there as a practical way of doing that. Simplifying life, when we talk about like simplifying to make it easier, is more about minimizing and less about taking away features in life. So more about minimizing clutter on the floor and having a couple of setups to keep things kind of right there for you to grab and organized, and less about having a bunch of shelves that you have to hammer into the wall. That's a little too much for something that could easily be minimized and organized in a different way. But you're still able to add on features like a coffee table, a hook, for example, and less about hammering nails into a wall for a shelf, for wooden shelves, just to get some stuff organized. So minimizing, I think, works a lot better than just taking things away. And so I used to think that having an Apple Google system would be taking away a lot of design elements in life design, when it's actually just minimizing, and you're making more room for features that you hadn't even considered in life when minimizing, like the hook, the coffee table that can easily be moved to a better location. Whereas once you put a shelf in, you don't even have the decision making to move it. Once you've hammered it in the wall, you can't even decide that you might want to put it somewhere else. So another advantage to that. So I hope that this kind of gives you a framework and helps you understand this in life. Take care of yourself, take care of your life, take care of each other.